Hey, Amber.
Yes.
Who lives in a lemon under the sea?
Not SpongeBob SquarePants, I'm guessing.
Citrus Tom Keto Pants.
Really?
All right, in all seriousness, since I did find out that Krabby Patties are not keto friendly because they put a bunch of soy isoflavones and a bunch of other fillers and modified food starch in those things.
Looking at you, SpongeBob.
Orange.
Looks like we're going to be making some lemon custard instead.
All right.
So, on that note, everything that is in front of us today is all focused on brain power, on proper omega balance, on proper thinking agents, everything to help boost cognitive function. Now, I'm going to let you do the hard work. I'm just going to do the sciencey stuff.
As usual.
Yeah. So, well, what do we start with here? What do we have?
All right, so we have, do you want to run through the ingredients?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we have a half of a cup of butter. So this is grass-fed butter. We have a half a cup of lemon juice, a half a cup of this monk fruit sweetener here, and some, what is this? Minced lemon. You could use grated.
That's my house.
I'm so sorry. You went into foreclosure. I don't know what to tell you. And then we have 6 egg yolks.
All right, so, and to give you a little science background on this, so the whole reason we're using Kerrygold and not traditional butter is it all comes down to, again, that omega-3, omega-6 balance. So you might be wondering, like, why do all these keto people talk about Kerrygold? Whole purpose of using any kind of grass-fed butter is the fact that the cattle were actually eating grass versus eating grain and soy. So remember how I told you those Krabby Patties have a bunch of soy in them? Well, yeah, definitely not grass-fed crab. So then we get into the lemons. We'll talk a little bit about the lemons when we start making the dish. Okay, then the eggs. Very important you get high omega value eggs. But the interesting thing is we're only using the yolks. We're not using the whites.
Correct.
And the whites are the most inflammatory part of the egg. Did you know that?
Correct. I did know that, actually.
Yeah, Amber knows that basically back in the autoimmune paleo stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the egg whites will trigger an inflammatory response on you. Usually the egg yolks are not very inflammatory and they're a perfect balance of the right fats and cholesterol. So in this case, perfect for what we're doing.
Okay.
Monk fruit. Reason we're using monk fruit, not stevia this time. A lot of new emerging evidence with monk fruit showing that monk fruit, because it contains mogrosides, are actually very, very, very powerful at killing off bad bacteria in your gut. So we're definitely going for that. Now I will say this particular brand does cut it with some erythritol. I'm not the biggest fan of erythritol in the world, but it's not gonna kill you. It just adds a couple of carbs to the mix by way of sugar alcohols. And then I've got some 4-sigmatic here, but I'm using a specific kind of elixir this time. I'm using one that has a little bit more of a citrusy flavor that we can add to this. The reason I'm using 4-sigmatic is because it has a powerful, powerful blend of mushroom extracts that are gonna make this not only an awesome keto dish, but it's gonna make it a very, very powerful brain booster as well. So down in the description, you'll see a discounted link to that. They're a major sponsor of this channel, so huge thank you to them. So that's the lay of the land. What are we doing now?
All right, you ready to get started? Get cooking. Okay, so we're gonna take our butter here. Very important, the label's there. And we're gonna just throw that right into the pan. This is the easiest recipe ever. We're just gonna go ahead and throw this butter in. And we're gonna melt it down. And pretty much you just add everything else to the pot here. So the hardest thing about this actually is that you have to stir. So we have to really make sure we're keeping an eye on this so that the bottom doesn't burn.
Forearm cramps.
It's like
It's a serious problem.
shoulder, or is it
Rotator
forearm?
cuff. Rotator cuff, wrist action. I don't know, a little bit of everything. So you may notice that I'm always using lemons in a lot of my keto recipes. So I mix them with apple cider vinegar and all of that stuff. The reason is, well, first of all, they're awesome. But second of all, when it comes down to keto, it makes a big difference in how your body utilizes bile. So if we have more bile, then we can have better fat metabolism, fat digestion. So it definitely helps out with that. Also really, really good for gallstones, which is also good for your gallbladder in the first place, which therefore clears out your bile ducts so that bile can work better.
Who knew?
I did.
So we are just about melted here. And we're gonna go ahead and grab our half cup of the monk fruit sweetener, and we're just gonna pour it right in while whisking. Look how good that already looks. Gotta make sure we get it all in there.
So something I found out about monk fruit is that monk fruit does not even trigger any kind of fructose receptor or anything like that. Even stevia actually has components of it that actually still trigger a little bit of an insulin response. Mogrosides, which is the active component of the monk fruit that we're after, doesn't have any carbohydrate impact. Like it's triggering sweetness on an entirely different level. So it's really interesting. Like normally you're triggering sweetness through a different avenue that still activates some kind of glucose transport system. Monk fruit doesn't activate any glucose transport system. The sweetness is in a completely different ballgame altogether. So no insulin spike, nothing like that. That's what's really powerful about monk fruit. The only downside is a lot of times it ends up cut with erythritol because it does have a little bit of a bitterness to it. Not even as bitter as stevia, to be honest. Okay, now she goes with the lemon juice.
I was just waiting for you to be done.
She's stirring, she's
Okay,
stirring,
so we're taking...
she's rounding the curve. Right.
That's really nice, honey. And then we're gonna take our grated lemon peel. Make sure you get all that out. And throw that in there and just stir it up. Okay, so we're gonna remove this from the heat now. So we're gonna take this off. There we go.
You have eyebrows left?
No, actually. They're just painted on. Okay, so then we need our eggs.
Right, so you got 6 just whole egg yolks, right?
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
One at a time.
One at a time?
Yes.
I can't do that.
Yes, you can. One. So yeah, let me mix it first. So the reason that we have to do this slowly is because we don't want it to scramble in here. That's why you actually want to take it off of the heat too. So go ahead and add the next one in.
So this is super important, guys, so take note of that. Take it off of the heat, add the yolks one by one. Ready for the next one?
Yep.
I'm so excited I can count.
This pan is really heavy. I should work out more. All right, ready?
Another one.
And 3. You know what the problem is that you broke one of the egg yolks, so we're only counting to 5, even though there's really 6 egg yolks in there.
And one more.
How many was that? You have to make sure you count.
5.5-ish. Somewhere in there.
And
Very
that's
important that you do not get traditional like jumbo eggs. Spend the extra $1 and get the good stuff that doesn't have a bunch of the omega-6 and soy and stuff in it.
Totally. That's actually an interesting point because I find that when I have the
Add
eggs
this
that
into the mix now too.
when I have the eggs that have the soy in it, I definitely feel an inflammatory response the next day.
Oh, it's
Like
a huge
every
difference.
time. Like
when
if
we
I go out to eat,
Yep.
you're just gonna say
yeah,
this?
exactly.
This is what happens when you've been married for a while. We can finish each other's.
Lemon bars.
This is lemon custard.
Okay. So while you're mixing that, I'm going to go ahead. So this is the lion's mane extract. I'm just going to add a little bit of that in there. So the cool thing about the lion's mane extract, so lion's mane supports what's called neurogenesis. So whenever you're in a ketogenic diet, you have enough of the saturated fats and the omega-3s typically to help support that cell fluidity. Okay, you want that cell fluidity so that the cell membranes can touch and communicate. Cells don't have mouths, right? They can't talk to one another. They do sort of have mouths to their membranes, but the way that cells communicate is like this. They bump into each other.
Hey,
So
can you work your stove?
I'm gonna sell. There we go.
I'm scared of it, I'm not gonna lie.
So cells don't
you.
just communicate in the traditional sense. So because they communicate by bumping into each other, you need to have that cell fluidity. The membranes need to be fluid enough to be able to touch another cell membrane to communicate. That's how signal transduction occurs. That's how those neurotransmitters work. That's how everything works in a cell communicates. So on a ketogenic diet, you have a lot of those fats that support that cell membrane, which is great. But when you have something like lion's mane into the mix, it supports that neurogenesis. So it actually supports the growth of new neurons and the growth of new cells. So you get a lot more communicating that's going on. So the ketogenic diet and someone that's on a ketogenic diet, they're in a perfect place to really start optimizing how their brain works. And they can start developing these neural pathways that can stick forever, even off of keto. It's really powerful stuff. I mean, honestly, I can nerd out on it forever, but brain chemistry is something I definitely didn't go to school for, but it's fascinating. So.
All right, do you want to stir? You can do this part.
Okay.
Okay, just keep it whisking.
Several bad puns later.
All right, so now this is just about wrapped up.
Yes, it is.
We've got some ramekins. Whoop.
And remember to, actually, I'm gonna let you pour and I will
Okay, perfect.
spoon it in. Remember too that this will thicken up a little bit more in the refrigerator.
And one of the things that we used to do is we make this with a like an almond flour crust, like a base. But honestly, it adds a fair bit of calories and it definitely adds some carbs because almond flour, unfortunately, does still have some carbs. You just have to use it in moderation. But we figured for this case, let's just make this a super easy recipe rather than making it complicated because the crust,
It tastes amazing anyways, but we can definitely give out that crust too.
Yeah, if anyone wants the crust recipe to put this on the crust, just go ahead and hit it in the comment section below, and then we'll try to put it in the description.
I'm too short for this job. You
Short
just do it.
people got it.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So what we need to do is we actually need to put this in the fridge for a little while.
Okay.
And then it'll be set, and we can come back to it, and we can dig in.
Perfect. Let's put it. Can we put it in the freezer and accelerate it a little bit?
Yes, you can.
All right.
Can someone video that?
We're listening.
So, when I was a kid growing up, my sister is like her favorite thing to make lemon bars. She wasn't ever making them like in any sophisticated way like this at all, and they certainly weren't keto. She would, I think, make them from like the Crustiers brand, 99 Crustiers, whatever,
Crustiers?
something like that. But whatever you'd get at the dollar store. And I remember vividly, I had my friend over, and we were playing Donkey Kong on Super Nintendo. And
good game.
Really good game. she was making lemon bars, and I can't remember like what happened, but she lost it. And I remember my friend, next thing I know, my friend was in the corner of the living room, like almost in the fetal position, because my sister had already taken her purse and like trebucheted it like across the room towards him. And now she was coming at us with a pan. And I am forever remembering lemon bars because of that. And
So do you associate lemon bars and like lemon
with
curd
violence?
with violence and pain?
No, but I mean, I just don't know. Every single time lemon bars, I just think of my sister, and she doesn't have that violent streak now. That was that was a fluke. I probably deserved it, but.
Every time I think of lemon bars, I think of my sweet old grandma who used to make them for me. Or your sister.
It's all good. So anyhow, that's enough story time for now. Let's see if our lemon bars or our lemon custard is done. So these are about good to go. Put them in the freezer and just put them in for about 10-15 minutes. But realistically, if you put them in the fridge, let them sit in there a little bit longer.
Yeah, like 4 hours is probably a really 2 to 4 hours, I would say.
Yeah, they really set up a lot more firm than really what we're even eating here.
Yeah.
But and just to recap what you're getting out of here and why I personally feel like this is a very powerful brain boosting keto snack. First of all, it tastes awesome. That's just great.
So good.
But we have the monk fruit, okay? So the whole thing with the monk fruit is because of the mogrosides, it's very powerful working on your gut bacteria. You may not realize this, but we have the enteric brain. We have that connection with the gut-brain axis, okay? Because the gut bacteria is so closely tied with our brain through that enteric nervous system, when our gut bacteria is in balance, we put ourselves in a great situation with that gut-brain axis or enteric nervous system. So really, really good things there coming just from the monk fruit. Then of course we have the 4-sigmatic lion's mane elixir that we added to it, so we've got the neuroregenerative effect there. Then we have good old-fashioned egg yolks, okay? No egg whites, so high omega-3 eggs, so you're not getting the cruddy ones. All right, then we have the lemons, organic lemons. You're getting that good, strong profile. It's gonna help your urea cycle and your uric acid components of your body, flushing that out, okay? And then, of course, lastly, we have the grass-fed butter, which nice omega-3 profile again. So you see the recurring theme here is all about the omegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, are you ready to try?
I'm ready.
Because really, the health stuff is good, but it doesn't taste good. Ready?
What, are
Cheers.
you feeding me? Cheers. That tastes and feels like a purse to the face. Yeah, it tastes really good. No, but seriously, this is really, really good.
Isn't it good? And it's easy. I mean, it's one of those things that you can kind of whip up together and not very long, pop it in the fridge and have it for dessert that night.
Perfect.
So good.
So there you have it, guys. Trying to bring more keto recipes to you whenever possible. As always, going to break down the science of whatever we're eating, breaking down the science of whatever we put in our body so we know what the outcome is going to be, good, bad, or ugly. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. If you have ideas for future videos, future recipes, put them down in the comment section below. And if you want Amber to start bringing some of her recipes here, let us know in the comment section below, because she's a heck of a lot better cook than me, and she doesn't fling purses or throw frying pans yet.
Hey,
Have it your way.
have it your way. Ba-da-ba-ba. Wait, that was McDonald's.